وبعد. Let me clear up a couple of points from last time. Last time, by the way, this is my book. Last time, I hope, inshallah, you got some benefit from the hour and a half. It wasn't meant just to kill an hour and a half. But after what we went through yesterday, if you pick up any book on usul al-fiqh, and from the beginning when they define usul al-fiqh, you'll be able to tell where the author is coming from, what kind of point of view he's coming from, and how he defines usul al-fiqh and what he will cover. Now, I assume you all remember this from last time. This is the definition of what? What? This is the definition of usul? Okay, those who said this is the definition of usul, yani you're one leg out of the class. So this is the definition of fiqh. Okay? The science of the ahkam. By the way, ahkam, what we mean by here, when we restrain it, we're talking about whether something is wajib or mubah or haram or sahih or batil, whether something is obligatory or forbidden or sound or void. Anyway, as I was writing it on the board, there was some discussion about this word. Should it be feminine, referring to ahkam, or masculine, referring to ilm? Well, I found it in 5 books. This is the traditional Shafi'i Usuliyin definition of fiqh. So you can find it in many books. And all of them had it masculine. And in the Subki's book, Jamal Zarabozo, the one who wrote the commentary, Muhalla, he wrote clearly, as if he knew, someday someone like me was going to try to teach this, and someone like our brother would try to refute me. ذلك العلم, يعني it is referring to ilm. So that is the correct definition. This is a small point, but I thought I would get it out of the way. So to review, we didn't say this explicitly, but there's some things, as I said, I want to clear up from last time. The science of fiqh, which that is the definition of which we went over last time. Science of fiqh tells us if something is wajib, is obligatory, recommended, or permissible, or what else is there? There's 5. Or haram, forbidden, or disliked. Okay. Fiqh also tells us if something is sound, what I mean by that is sahih, or void, meaning batil, or, and this is for the Hanafis in the class, or irregular, meaning fasid. And the other madhab, they only have sound and void. Okay, fiqh also, the science of fiqh also includes the particular evidences for practical matters. Okay, the particular evidences for practical matters. That is what fiqh. These are the things that we learn through fiqh. And these things we are not going to be studying here, right? This has nothing to do with what we're, well, I shouldn't say nothing, I guess. Everybody have this definition? Have this? Abu Saud, did you write this down? You have that? Okay, and usul al-fiqh tells us what? Notice how much I'm trying to avoid writing in Arabic today after last week. Okay, what does usul al-fiqh? This is what we talked about last time. What does it tell us? Quick, this is like a review of last time. So this should come out quickly. It was for me. That's pretty quick, wouldn't you say?
How to get illegal message
from
the evidence.
Okay, how to drive legal rulings from the adilla or evidence. Okay. From the adilla. What else? Is that all? Remember Ba Hussein's definition of usul al-fiqh? Okay. Also, who is qualified to use those Okay. What else?
And how was the benefit from?
I think you're thinking of this one. What else did we say? Trying to see if last time was really a waste of time or not. Yeah, that's how to drive legal rules. That's number 2. Who is qualified to use those rules? Pardon me? Okay. What? This is very important also. According to our definition of usul al-fiqh here, what is and is not an acceptable form of evidence. MashaAllah. What is and is not an acceptable form of evidence. Right? And there's one more that we didn't really, I didn't really mention it yesterday. And that is the relationship between the types of evidence. The types of evidences. Is that correct in English? Evidences? Thank you. You see why I move a lot is to get out of the way so you can take a picture of the board. Okay. هذا اختلاف العلماء. We use the term ulama loosely in this class. Now, for example, some types of evidence are stronger than other types of evidence. So if there's a conflict between two types of evidence, usul al-fiqh tells you which one takes precedence over the other. Okay, 3 and 4 just tells you what is an acceptable form of evidence or what isn't. Number 4 ranks them in order of strength. For example, a hadith which is mutawatir or has been narrated by many people on each chain is a type of evidence. So is the hadith which is ahad. Both of them are a type of evidence. But if there's a conflict between the two, which one is stronger? So al-fiqh also tells us which one is stronger, which one takes preference. Now these 4, except for the last one, they should have been clear from what we talked about last time. Okay? So this class is not about this stuff over here. It's about that stuff over there. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions about that? Fine. Yesterday there was after class. Yes? Pardon me? What? Which one? This one? Fasid. Yeah. Again, this is just the Hanafi madhab. Is this clear? Question? You look very confused, brother. La hawla wa quwwata illa billah. How come they're all from the same university as you? See, I left out the name of the university. You told me to leave out names because of the tape. But they're all from the same university as you are from. But is this clear? Okay. After the class on Tuesday, there was a couple of people made comments after the class that showed me that there's one other point that I have to clarify. Okay. This one, number one here, it is talking about the qawaid or the legal maxims. Or qawaid. As I said last time, legal maxims actually is not a good definition for what we're talking about here. And apparently, from what I heard after class, I should clarify the difference between three things. One is the qawaid al-usuliyah. I didn't leave myself enough room. Right? That's the problem when you write from the other side. No, because I'm going to write it here. Okay. I'm going to call this now general legal maxims. Legal maxims. Okay. Pardon me? What's what? I'm sorry? Okay, let me write them first and then I'll get to them. Okay, the other one is al-qawaid. Al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya. Okay. These are, I'll call them, since you said in Turkish you have the word fiqh, I'm going to use fiqh then. I'm going to call these fiqh maxims. Okay. And then we have al-dawabit al-fiqhiyya. Since I don't remember how to spell dawabit in Arabic, I'll write it in English. Dawabit al-fiqhiyya. I'm going to call this one little fiqh maxims. Okay, let's talk about what's the difference between the three of them, and then we'll talk about. It will be clear to you what we're going to discuss in this class. Pardon me? Constraints? No, here it means that's a very good translation for dawabit here. Dawabit fiqhiyya. I know it doesn't seem like good, but it's good. Okay. Usul al-fiqh is a study of those four things. Number one is referring to al-qawaid al-usuliyah. Okay? These qawaid are independent of any fiqh question or any fiqh matter. يعني مسألة فقهية. In a second I will give, or in a minute I will give examples of that. Yeah, I'm going to give examples of it, and when I give examples it will be clear what I mean by it. Fiqh maxims, or al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya. Al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya is the qawaid or ruling that applies to many cases, independent of the topic of fiqh. What we're really talking about is many cases that are based or that go back to the same qiyas, on the same deductive analogy or qiyas. Yes, this is what qawaid al-fiqhiyya are. For example, who can give me an example of qawaid al-fiqhiyya?
قواعد الفقهية
ايوه.
دفع على المصدقين بأقلهم.
اوكي. نعم.
المصالح مقدم على الدفع هذا مقدم على جلب المصالح.
First, in English, brother. This is an English class. Not an English class, excuse me. This is a class in English. There's a big difference between the two. Yes? Okay, for example, let's take an easy one. Yani necessity renders, okay, yani forbidden things illegal, makes forbidden things legal. That's the easy one. Not the way I said it. Necessity renders prohibited things permissible. Huh? In English? In English? Necessity. It's the same in Arabic, by the way. Prohibited things. Okay, necessity renders prohibited things permissible. No. This is an example of qawaid fiqhiyya. Okay. This is a qaida fiqhiyya. Now, I said that this is what we mean by qawaid fiqhiyya. Many cases that are based on the same analogy. In other words, whether you're talking about salat, or you're talking about fasting, or you're talking about hajj, or you're talking about many different topics in usul al-fiqh. In fiqh. You can apply this principle. Okay? For example, with respect to prayer. If someone has his arm cut off, for example, from here, and he'll be excused from putting his hands here. So it's necessity. Also in the case of hajj, he has some particular conditions, he'll be excused from certain things. So this is a principle or maxim that can be applied in almost any topic of fiqh. Okay? So therefore it is called a fiqh maxim or qawaid fiqhiyya. Okay? This is not the type of thing we're going to be studying here. Okay, unless we get to the end of the class, near the end of the class, if you look at the reading list, I devoted a separate lecture for that, but I don't really believe we'll get there, but anyway. It is actually not a topic in usul al-fiqh, but it is an interesting topic. That's why if we have time, we'll get to it later. Okay? Now, yes. Okay. With respect to wudu, if someone has his arm cut off from here, he doesn't have to wash, obviously. That part of it, okay, because of necessity. Okay. Yes.
About the second point,
yes, okay.
Can we say that the difference between the next difference between the first point, which is qawaid usuliyya, and second point, the qawaid fiqhiyya, is that in qawaid usuliyya, the rules are human-made, whereas the qawaid
No. Stop. No. I said it, independent of any fiqh question. We're going to get to examples of it, okay? Just be patient. Okay, another example is hardship, similar to this. Hardship begets facility. What is in Arabic, quickly? Hardship, if something is difficult, then the law makes it easy. That's qaida fiqhiyya. If something, you don't have to get to the point of dhurura. If something is hard on the people, then also you apply the principle that you try to make it easy. Again, now that's the same kind, okay? So basically what we're saying is we have many different cases. We're applying the same, what we're really doing is we're applying the same analogy. Okay? In the same way that if someone doesn't have an arm, so suppose he doesn't have two arms, then obviously he doesn't have to wash them when he's making wudu. Huh? No, he doesn't have them. Obviously the same person doesn't have to throw the stones at Hajj. Right? So we're talking about things that are applied in any area of fiqh. Or not actually in any, but in many areas of fiqh. As opposed to a dawabit al-fiqhiyya, what they call little fiqh maxims. Dawabit are just in a particular bab or a particular section of fiqh. For example, if something has a little bit of najasa or a little bit of impurity, and a very small amount of impurity, it doesn't make the whole thing impure. Okay? We can apply that to many things. We can apply that to water. If you have a big thing of water and it has a little bit of impurity, it doesn't make it impure. If you have food, it has a little bit of impurity, it doesn't make if you have clothing, for example, and just a little bit of impurity. Now, why is that a dawabit and not qaida? Why is that one of the dawabit? Just think of what I said here, or what I said about that.
Not for all topics.
It is just for what? Yeah, it is just related to kitab al-tahara, or the topic of tahara. So if you have some principles that are just related to one topic, like purity, tahara, for example, they call that dawabit, not qawaid or qaida. No, if you have, for example, what was the one you gave me yesterday? He's one of the brothers who, because of him we're going through this. I forget what you said. But for example, with respect to court cases, there are specific rules that you apply, or that you can apply, which only apply to court cases. They don't apply to anything else, so therefore they're called dawabit. Question?
That's confusion.
Confusion.
I thought the difference between qawaid and dawabit is due to the fact that the dawabit has a limit. The tahara, the example you gave. Because the water resistance to kulla, so the makes difference.
It has a limit, meaning it is limited to a particular topic in fiqh. That's what they mean by limit. And the dawabit is just refers to, you can have a dawabit that is just related to tahara. It is a maxim, but it's only applied with respect to tahara. It's not applied with respect to buying and selling or marriage or these other things. While qaida should be in general, obviously it doesn't have to be every topic, but it can be applied to many topics. No. The dawabit is related to a specific topic only. As an example, tahara. Okay. It could be related just to salat. It could be related just to buying, a specific type of buying even. Okay. Anyway, numbers 2 and 3 are, as I said, we are not going to be studying them here. Now let's go back to what we are going to be studying. Okay, the qawaid al-usuliyya, as I said, they are legal maxims, general legal maxims that are independent of any fiqh question. For example, if we wanted, I think I gave this example last time. If we wanted to go from the verse that says aqimu salat wa atu zakat, and we want to go from that verse to see what is the legal conclusion that we can get from it. Okay, so the verse says, establish prayer. As I said, we did this last time. Or just taking that part of the verse. Okay, this is actually a particular evidence for something. Okay, which is in the definition I erased, adillat tafsiliyya. Okay, how do we get from that to the conclusion that prayer and zakat are obligatory? From Qawad, okay, through Qawad. Okay. First thing, if we read the verse, we see that the verse is in the imperative form, which in Arabic is what? Just testing your linguistics. Amr. Okay, it is in the form of Amr. Okay. Secondly, we apply the qaida suli, which is, they said, independent of any fiqh question, that the imperative implies obligation. Okay. This is a qaida, or one of the qawaid usuliyah. Okay, that an imperative implies obligation. It has nothing to do with any particular fiqh question. Okay, it's not like saying that a little bit of najasa doesn't affect anything. It's not like saying that if you have hardship you make things easier. It is independent of any fiqh question. You can almost say it has nothing to do with fiqh. Almost say that, but of course we wouldn't say that now, would we? Right? This is the kind of thing that you study in usul al-fiqh. This thing. You study the adillah and general. Yani what is, for example, in this case, this is a verse of the Qur'an. So in usul al-fiqh we study what is or what isn't a form of adillah or evidence, what isn't acceptable. Now without, of course, this is getting rather advanced, we haven't gotten there yet, but would you say a verse in the Qur'an is the type of adillah? Yes, right? Is it late at night for you people, or? But yes, yeah. The imperative implies. Yes.
This is in general form.
What do you mean in general?
I mean, some cases.
Okay, yeah, we'll discuss it in more. It is a big topic, but we'll discuss it in more detail later. Now, in this example, there's some things that we should note, which I had written down here somewhere. Okay. Okay. First thing to note is this step right here. Is that part of usul al-fiqh? And to say that this verse, aqimu salat wa atu zakat, is in the imperative, where do we get that from? Okay. This is from the Arabic language. Actually, it's not part of usul al-fiqh. And we know that from the Arabic language. Okay. The second step, as I said, this is the general principle, the legal maxim, okay, that we use to derive this fiqh ruling. The ruling itself, the conclusion, is this part of usul al-fiqh? No, actually the ruling itself, yani the conclusion from a particular evidence to a conclusion, yani this is actually fiqh. The conclusion is fiqh. No, it is a fiqh point. Yani the prayer, zakat, as I said, yani I said before that fiqh tells us what is wajib, or whether something is wajib or haram or makruh or mubah. So we're saying that something is wajib, so we know that that is a fiqh question.
But the way you came up with this wajib is called qawaid.
Yeah, and in order to derive the fiqh conclusions, we have to apply usul al-fiqh, which are these qawaid. Okay. Now, getting back to a question that was raised and also what Uthman said earlier. Oh, maybe I should leave it. All of these qawaid usuliyah and also the qawaid fiqhiyah, they have to have some evidence for them. And they are not just something that we just make up. They have to have evidence for them either from the Qur'an, from the Sunnah, from the Arabic language, number 4, from, how should I say this? Pardon? No. This is Ahmed's not here, so I don't have to write what these are. But I'll do it anyway. Proofs for general legal maximum. That's again. Huh? Let's not generalize these squares for those who. Huh? What? Let's call it irrefutable logic, or aql, irrefutable aql. Not aql in the sense that it's used nowadays, but irrefutable logic. For example, and obviously the more proofs that something has, the stronger it will be considered. Some qawaid usuliyah, they have any proofs in all of these. To give an example, okay. When we talk about yes, you can't hear? Oh. I'm sorry about that. Okay. I'll give you a qawaid usuliyah and you give me the proof. How about that? There is no. This is when you talk about when we study at the end of the course about taklif or who is responsible. There's a qaida that says there is no responsibility beyond what one can bear. How do you spell bear in this case? That's an animal. Okay. Hamid says it's okay, so we'll accept it. What's the proof for this qaida? Okay. And 3 or 4 verses in the Quran giving the same meaning. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Okay? Very clear. This qaida is derived from that evidence. Okay? I'll give you another qaida. The imperative implies obligation. What's the proof in that? Okay? It has proof from Arabic language, it also has proof from Sunnah. What's the proof from Sunnah? Pardon me? And Qur'an, actually, yeah. So this one, in other words, has lots of proofs for it. So, okay, yeah. There's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, when I order you to do something, then do something to the best of your ability. Also, what did the Prophet say about miswak, for example? when he says this, yani, that if it were not to be a hardship on my ummah, I would order them to use the miswak before every salah. Okay? His statement is telling us that if he orders us to do something, it's his obligation. Okay? How about an order must be performed promptly. And promptly, what does that mean? And فورا. An order must be performed promptly. What's the proof for that? Logic? Irrefutable logic? I don't think so. Arabic language? Why is that?
Do something.
Exactly, do something. And if you tell, for example, your servant to bring you a glass of water, and after 2 weeks he comes with a glass of water, and obviously he did not respond to your command properly. In the Arabic language, and in order is supposed to be performed promptly. Okay, how about this one? If two mujtahids have opposite conclusions about something, one of them must be wrong. Okay, that's irrefutable logic. Same with the principle that says that a slave or abd cannot be ordered to do something and not to do it at the same time. That's qaida. Okay. Pardon me? If the explanations are compatible, if they're talking about a verse in the Qur'an, if the Qur'an is open to more than one meaning, or the explanations are compatible, and then you might. But here, that's why I said they come to opposite conclusions. If they're explaining a verse in the Qur'an, they come to opposite conclusions. I don't think that's acceptable. Yeah. Yeah, well, if they use different approaches, and one says that salat is wajib and the other one says that salat is haram, and you know that one of them has to be wrong.
No.
At least one of them is wrong. There you are.
You might use different approaches to reach the same conclusion. Which is okay.
No, this is not what that's saying. Okay.
Whenever they see different approaches, they see definitely they will
Now, this doesn't say anything about the approaches. This says if two mujtahids have the opposite conclusions about something, one of them must be wrong. Okay, this shows you how dangerous it is to use aql. Something as clear as this, we're arguing about it. This should be what?
If the premises are different, then it's okay.
No.
If you go from different premises, they may go to opposite. They may get to opposite conclusions. That means that either of them is wrong. You have to go from.
No, you're wrong. The truth is one. If they come to opposite conclusions, one says the thing is haram, the other one says it's wajib, one of them has to be wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying that it's the same premise, the same hypothesis.
No, if they're talking about the same topic, regardless of how they get to their conclusion, doesn't matter. Just forget this for a second. If they're talking about the one topic, who cares how they get to their results? If they come up with different results, one of them has to be wrong.
But that's nothing to do with logic, yeah? Because the logic says that if you go from the same premise, okay, and
that's why I said not logic, I said irrefutable logic, which is different from logic. Logic, there's many points in logic, منطق, يعني, which are questionable. But related to the Qur'an wa Sunnah, if we relate logic to the Qur'an wa Sunnah, there's some points which are irrefutable. For example, the truth is one. Yani, you cannot say about the same thing, okay, someone says it's haram, the other one says it's wajib.
My point is also the conclusion
No. No, it doesn't have to be. No, it doesn't have to be that.
ممكن يأتي اثنين واحد يقول صلاة سنة والثاني يقول حرام.
أي. طيب. I think it's water, يعني, in my estimation. Go ahead.
One says that the word haram, the other says no, they are okay.
Okay, one of them is wrong. One of them is wrong.
The question, when the one who says haram, maybe also the other.
That doesn't matter. We're not talking about, yani, is the mujtahid, yani, wrong in his approach, or is he atham? We're not talking about that. We're saying, yani, that one of them must be wrong, because pictures cannot be both halal, haram at the same time. They cannot be. At least, yani, before this century, according to aql and irrefutable logic, it could not be. Unless there's some new logic nowadays that Ilyas knows, that the rest of us don't know, yani, it cannot be.
Because the logic means, for example, you can allow part of the surah okay, the other part not okay. When it comes.
Now, I'm talking about, if you're talking about one topic, and you come to opposite conclusions, one of them must be wrong. So obviously this points out one thing, that obviously the first three sources, or the first three proofs, are much stronger than the fourth proof. Okay. How about this? Let me ask you, let's confuse everything a little bit more. Well, let's stop there. I think we've done enough damage for today. I'm going to ask this question, but I don't know why I'm going to ask this question. Is this clear? Everything clear up to now? So, much of what we're going to be studying, we're going to be studying the adilla and the qawaid. And the qawaid have to have some evidence for them. And these are the sources of the evidence. Yeah.
If there is only one Qur'an, for example, then why there is difference in the Qur'an?
Why is there difference what? Oh, Ibn Abbas, he explained that to Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, you and I, we lived at a time when we know what the revelation is talking about. There's going to be people coming later who are going to interpret it according to the ra'i. They don't know what has been revealed about. And when they interpret it according to the ra'i, or their opinions, they're going to differ and they're going to fight. With respect to... it still doesn't affect this, one of them is wrong. Sahaba are not ma'soom.
No, I think about Qur'an. The conclusion I would like to assess is that according to what they understand from Qur'an, what they understand from us, because if they from Qur'an, and then each one is going to say what I think is not accepted, is not even think.
Something what? Are you trying to say that we should never use Qur'an as adilla? No. Okay, this course is going to tell us how to understand the Qur'an according to the Arabic language. Okay? And it is inshallah going to make things clear. And the Qur'an is not a book just anyone can come and read it and interpret it. But it's revealed in Arabic language, and it has principles. And when we talk about asbab ikhtilaf al-fuqaha, we'll go back to the times of the Sahaba and see why they had some different opinions. But it still doesn't affect anything we've discussed so far. Yeah. Aywa? Oh. Did it still going? Both of them. Okay. It's okay? It's almost. Wait, how do you do it? Where's the eject button? Excuse us for a moment.